Hello people, how we doing? Fucking freezing out there, man. I was at my class today. It was a good shift, good to get back in about it after 6 weeks off with whatever the fuck was going on with my shoulder. It's let up now obviously, but I still get like pins and needles in my horn and that, but fuck it, innit? It's no excuse not to be going to class, so yeehaw, back in about it and that. I wasn't even got to stay for sparring at the end, but kind of felt obliged, know what I mean? So ended up staying and getting a few sparring sessions in and that. All good. Get caught in the rain the way back, man. Know what I mean? Didn't have my waterproof on, had a hoodie and a fucking scarf, know what I mean? I was drenched by the time I get home, but fuck it, innit? No made of sugar, as Putin would say. So, I don't know if any have seen on iPlayer, right? A documentary, Limbs in the Loch, Catching a Killer. I honestly couldn't believe it when I stumbled on this a few weeks ago, and I've been meaning to do this video for quite a while, but I wanted to get my thoughts in a row, if you want to say that, because obviously I've covered this case before. I read the book by Patrick Gregg, but by the time I finished that book, I had more questions than answers, and I know this is absolutely one of the most, if not the most horrific case that I've ever delved into. As I've said before, like, I've actually had nightmares about it, because because of my kind of, like, having a psychology degree, a criminology degree, and reading forensic science literature and all that, you can kind of envision how crimes take place, if you have enough information about it. And this was just fucking sends chills down my spine just talking about it. But at the end of the day, I was quite happy that this documentary was made, in the sense that it highlights this case, and it also highlights the fact that this scumbag should never breathe fresh air outside a prison exercise yard again. In fact, if it was up to me, you wouldn't be able to breathe fresh air. Know what I mean? Just being just being honest. Well, frank. I don't like the word honesty, because it's frankness is better for me anyway. But it was a 6-part documentary, and it's definitely no for the faint of heart. And obviously, as I've said before, how when I've made videos about this case and read about it, not everything that I've read was either in a newspaper or in that book by Patrick Gregg, right? And any time I would delve into it, I would have more questions than answers. But this documentary, I would say, filled in a lot of gaps. So just a kind of, and obviously I want to say, before we proceed, and I need to start remembering to do this in a lot of my videos, it's obviously, a lot of this stuff I'm talking about could be, the word they use is triggered, it could trigger people, right? So if you're easily kind of upset, disturbed, anything at all like that, you probably shouldn't be watching anything I'm talking about. But at the same time, I also think that why also the reason that I've probably never used any of these disclaimers at the start of my videos is because I assume that people wouldn't watch my videos if they were like that anyway. I know I wouldn't, but you're always going to have that. So obviously, if you've been like a victim of crime or any of this kind of type of offending, you probably shouldn't be kind of watching this, because of the kind of things that are being talked about. But obviously, only you know whether you can stomach it or not. So, a wee bit of background. So, this offence occurred in 1999, Christmas, the first week of December. Young guy, Barry was only a year older than me, so like my brother's age. He was at a Christmas night out in Kilmarnock, vanished, and sadly, his severed arms and legs and torso turned up in Loch, hence the name Limbs in the Loch, and his severed head turned up on a beach in Ayrshire. Now, the timeline between him being last seen and his remains being discovered was only a few days, and I always wondered how did the assailant get him back to the house where this happened and all that. But obviously, kinda no figured it out now, but obviously learned enough about it now that I can kinda piece things together. And I think that what happened was this guy, William Beggs, the guy convicted of this murder, one of the most absolute slimy, horrendous fucking cockroaches that I've ever had the displeasure to know about. Just absolute vermin, to put it mildly. Was I think he was trolling for victims, because obviously he is a serial sexual psychopath, and I know these words get flung about too often, and it's like, oh, he's a psychopath, and it's almost like the word has no currency. But believe me when I tell you, this guy is the epitome of a sexual psychopath. He's obviously seen Barry Wallace inebriated, been drinking, so he's obviously thought easily controlled, obviously be smaller than him as well. Lured him back to the flat, assaulted him, restrained him with handcuffs, and abused him, and subsequently murdered him and dismembered him. But the horrendous thing is that this guy is sexually aroused by something called piquerism. Now, piquerism is a paraphilia, like a sexual disorder, and it involves being aroused by cutting, piercing, skin, things like that. Now, just taking give you a flavour of what, like a kind of technical definition. I got one in my textbooks, right, which is it's actually called hold on, the Practical Homicide Investigation. So this is one of the practical homicide investigations, tactics, procedures, and forensic techniques. This is like the kind of Bible of murder detectives in America. So it's like a go-to book for homicide detectives in America, written by Vernon Gebeth, well quoted, fucking you name it, NYPD detectives. So piquerism, right, this is a definition: sexual inclinations to stab, pierce, or cut, obtaining a sexual gratification from the shedding of blood, tearing of flesh, and or observing such pain and suffering of a victim subjected to this activity. Absolute fucking nightmarish, know what I mean? And the fucking creepy cold fact is, this is this killer's signature, right? No, the MO, the signature. The MO is how he commits the offence, but the signature is what his like psychological fingerprint on the offence. So, in other words, every offence he commits would have piquerism. And the thing is, when Barry Wallace had went missing, and they had ID'd his remains, well, there was obviously a missing persons report from Kilmarnock, obviously out of character. Boy came from a good family and all that. So wasn't he like what we would call a high risk victim? So somebody who's from a broken home, maybe drug addicted parents, they sleep in the streets. These are all high risk factors that would make you maybe more susceptible to violent crime or whatever. And when they ID'd the remains, they've did what they call an MO search on the PNC, and only one name came back, William Beggs. And the reason that his name came back was because he had committed similar offences like this in the past. And what's kind of hair raising, and often hair, but you get the drift, was he had moved to Kilmarnock in the early 90s after he had been convicted in the 1980s in England of a murder, right? So he met this gay guy, Barry Oldham his name was, right? And I believe that they were in a brief relationship, but Barry Oldham was discovered on, I think it was the Yorkshire Moors, right? He'd been murdered and cut. Attempts were made to disarticulate his body, and they've traced it back to William Beggs, who said this was his defence, right? We went camping, and I woke up and he was trying to sexually assault me, and I slashed him and went back to sleep. Right, now think about this for a minute, right? Because this is a thing with psychopaths, right? And I mean apex psychopaths, not just your kind of your run-of-the-mill fucking dumb ones, know what I mean? You get very clever ones, and he obviously is in a lot of respects, but I don't think he can put himself in the shoes of law enforcement. Now listen to his defence, right? I woke up, he was trying to fucking fondle me, I slashed him, went back to sleep, and I woke up and he was dead. Let me ask you a question. If you're in a tent and wake up and somebody's sexually assaulting you, alright, you're going to fucking fight for your life anyway, you know what I mean? I know I would, but I'm not going to slash you and go back to sleep. Like, are you fucking kidding me, mate? And you woke up and he was dead and you didn't know what to do, so you just try to dismember him. That wouldn't pass the laugh test, because nobody in their right mind is either going to be assaulted or sexually assaulted and just go back to sleep. You would be fucking... But obviously, considering this guy is a fucking fruitcake, maybe he did try and go back to sleep. But the thing is, when the police raided his flat, they found forensic evidence that would indicate that Barry Oldham wasn't killed in a tent on the moors, he was killed in this house. So he was convicted of murder. But the thing is, William Beggs had he's quite the fucking jailhouse lawyer. He had appealed and said that his defence at the appeal was the prosecution or the judge, I can't remember what one it was, right, had introduced what they call bad character evidence. So basically, when you go to court, right, they're not supposed to bring up anything about your past unless you testify. Clearly I don't think he did testify, but there was something, there was evidence led in court that basically he's been doing this before, and he basically appealed on that point and said that biased the jury, so I never got a fair trial. But rather than retry him, get a new jury and no bring up that evidence, he was acquitted and let go, like fucking 3 years into a life sentence. So we're talking maybe 1990 or something, quite a while ago. and he's left England and moved to Kilmarnock. Now remember, William Beggs is actually for Northern Ireland, came for a kind of deeply religious household, struggled with sexuality and all that kind of stuff. But he's moved to Kilmarnock, and the thing is that I believe it was the mid-90s, he met a guy in a gay bar, and it was quite, I think it was a mutual agreement, arrangement, attraction, whatever you want to call it. But he's going back to the flat. He's given this guy a beer with some sort of fucking sleeping pill in it, whatever. The guy's woke up and he's been cutting his legs and his groin and all that, so just and the guy was saying in the interview, he's like, this was a total personality shift. It completely changed for like a human to a fucking demon. And he's like, I knew I was going to die in that house if I didn't get out. But he says the strange thing was, he said when he was trying to go out the bedroom, he says like Beggs was just like he says I was holding his wrists and walking back away. He says he wasn't even trying to grab me or nothing, he was just staring into my eyes going, just come back in the bedroom, you've made me do this. But he says how calm he was fucking freaky. And I completely get that, because with this type of offender who works like this, who's trying to subdue you with like sleeping tablets so you're stupefied, obviously he's thinking you're easily controlled and all that, and I bet my fucking life on it, wasn't his first time, clearly it wasn't. Obviously when you think about that murder, and I dare say when he won that appeal, he would have thought, I'm the fucking bee's knees, man. And I can see why, when you put your feet in, when you put yourself, I hate saying in the mind of a psychopath, I hate that, it's such a cliche, but that's exactly what I mean when you say like how he must have felt when he won that appeal. Know what I mean? He'd have thought he was fucking Superman. I thought he could beat anything. Know what I mean? It's like one up. Know what I mean? But the guy who he attacked ran and dove right through the fucking living room window and landed in the ground below outside the window, because he said, I knew I was dying in there. He says, and I just wanted people to know what had happened to me. So the police have came and took him to court, charged him and all that, and he got like 6 years. But even though this is a sexual offence, he was done for like, say, attempt murder, which wouldn't flag up as like a sexual offence and all that, because it's not overtly sexual. Do you know what I mean? But he only, I believe, served half of that sentence, so clearly he must have got parole, which kind of makes me think how well presented he must have been to the parole board. And I don't know if you got oral hearings back then like you do now, but he would have known everything to say, and quite the jovial character, because a lot of the evidence or the stuff that I've heard or read or watched or whatever, they've all said this kind of same thing. He was quite personable, chatty, charming, and that's like standard box ticking for a lot of psychopaths, let alone sexual psychopaths. But when he had been released, he's obviously been up to no good, because by the time the murder squad raided his house and had the forensics teams in, I believe they found like 15, 20 or more separate blood types. So that's 17, 20 different victims, and how many of them are still breathing or dead, nobody knows. Only he knows that. So it just gives you a a kind of insight to how fucking deranged and fucking mental this scumbag is. But obviously, for people that'll maybe not know, he had fled, and I watched the way he done it. It reminded me of like drug traffickers who, instead of flying for like fucking Medellin to Heathrow, they'll fly to fucking like a smaller airport, like fucking, I don't know, right, they'll fly to like a small airport, then fly to another smaller airport, but then fly for that smaller airport into the big one. And I remember asking this guy, who I knew had been involved in drug trafficking, I says, what was the reason for that? And he says, because they're always looking for cunts coming in for the big airports. They're less suspicious with you if you're coming in for a small one. They just think you're a mad fucking farmer or whatever. So what he had done was drove for Scotland to, I think it was Luton Airport, and flew for there to fucking one in London, and then flew to Jersey or somewhere, and then flew on to France, and then into Holland. So knew what he was doing. And the thing is, when he went to Holland, because of the media coverage in this case, which was fucking, I remember it, I was only a young boy, I was in Pullman at the time, right? And remember just thinking, fucking hell, like, who does something like that? And he had went to Holland and obviously started fighting extradition because and the reason, and that obviously he had a layered legal game plan. So it's like, I'll go to Holland and use whatever law it was they had, saying I can't get a fair trial in Scotland because of the media publicity. And even one of the cops, a guy called John Gates, who I tried to contact a while back to come on the channel and see if he would do an interview, but must have went into his spam folder or something, I don't know, so it never even, I don't even know if it delivered. But anyway, he said that, what was it? How he's got to use that rule in Dutch law, and if he wins that, we can't touch him. Like, imagine the fucking nightmare that must have been for that guy's family. Like, no even just going through what they went through with what this scumbag done, but then to sit and think he's not just some mad fucking beast that's fucking no got a clue. He's fucking clued up. I believe he's actually got a few degrees in fucking fuck knows what. But anyway, so he's no daft in that sense. But obviously he lost that appeal and was extradited. But I'm sure it said when they went to get him, he was lying on the floor, kicking and screaming or something. And I remember thinking, see the cops that went to pick him up, where did they find that self-restraint, man? Just not smash his fucking head in, man. Where did they find it? Like, I don't know, it's a good question, because I remember reading it going, oh, I'd have been like, you wait, you cunt. As soon as we get you back here, you're getting fucking done, mate, know what I mean? Just, fuck it, just see, I know I keep saying this, but people like this just, there's no redeeming features, there's no redeeming qualities, there's no humanity, so fuck them. Forfeited your right to fucking breathe as far as I'm concerned, mate, know what I mean? Think yourself lucky, you're breathing, know what I mean? But anyway, once they got him back, his trial was, I can't mind how long it lasted, but it must have just been so fucking harrowing for that family. And I remember thinking to myself, I think Donald Finlay was his QC, right? And I remember thinking, like, surely if you're a defence lawyer, right, and I get all this right to fair trial shit and all that, but see when you're sitting reading what this scumbag's accused of, how do you even get to a point where you would even want to defend him? How do you even disassociate yourself for the fact that this guy is basically a Jeffrey Dahmer without the cannibalism? How do you get yourself in a place where you're alright with defending that, and seeing that family in court, knowing they're hearing what happened to that boy, and you're trying to drum up a defence and get him off with that? How would you even sleep at night if you got him off with that? I've always wondered that. I don't think, I think if I was ever a defence lawyer, I couldn't take a client like that. I'd probably be like, mate, I'll fucking do you myself, you fucking prick, know what I mean? Fuck it, innit? Know what I mean? Can't put a price on being able to fucking look yourself in the mirror at the end of the day, know what I mean? But I don't know, but he'd been sentenced to a recommendation of 20 years, right? Now that's finished. This was 2001. He was eligible for parole like 5 years ago or something. He was eligible for parole, I think, 2021, something like that. So, and the one of the things is that I've read is how he's no engaged with any offence-focused rehabilitation programs. There's no rehabilitation for anybody like this, I want to say that. There's just no. Rehabilitation is a fairy tale, it's a fantasy for somebody like this. And I can guarantee you that's going to impact his parole, because there is not a fucking snowball's hope in hell that somebody who has been convicted of this his second time, right? And no then offence focused work, like I couldn't get parole and I done all the work. So he could go and do all that work and still no get parole. But the thing is, with offence focused work, you need to discuss why you're in prison. So he would, if he was to conduct offence focused work, he would be open to all sorts of discussions about that crime he committed, right? And any answers he gives is just going to either expose his psychopathy even more, or it's just going to hang him, and I think he knows that. So I think what he's been doing is trying to win appeal after appeal, and fucking guy's just a fucking absolute scumbag, man. But I believe he's lost all his appeals, but I dare say he'll try and find any wee legal thread that he can jump on, because it's I think it's no debate that he clearly knows how to exploit the legal system, but just a fucking absolute horrendous walking nightmare of an individual. And that documentary was pretty, it was good in the sense that there was a lot of people who were involved in the investigation. There was some witnesses who had spoke about him, gave some insight and all that. So for somebody like me doing a channel like this, it's good in the sense that I can talk about it, but just he should never see daylight again. And I would like to think that programme has caused him some problems, because I could guarantee you, man, there'll be screws that have watched it, screws who work in the jail, whatever jail he's in, who've watched that. Everybody will know what he's done, and it should never be forgotten. I always say that for the most part, most people in prison, they're no bad people, they've done bad things. Some of these are redeemable, even though, like, like when I was saying last night how when I was reading all my old paperwork and I was like, fucking hell man, I was a fucking nutter back then, but I was a teenage boy, lost a lot of family members, went through a lot of shit. He grew up in a fucking, he grew up where I used to see his house. I was like, fucking hell man, you can fit my fucking house in his living room. Decent guy, fucking mom and dad, blah blah blah, no drugs, no fucking whatever, know what I mean? And I'm sitting going, some people are just fucked up. And it just shows you that it's not always nurture. It's sometimes it can be nature. With me it's nurture. With him it's nature. And anybody who is capable of doing any of the shit he's done, like getting turned on by slashing somebody's body, you fucking nuts. You just need put down, mate. Is what it is. And the world's a safer place with him in prison, but it'll be even safer when he kicks the bucket. And I think when I find out that he has kicked the bucket, I don't know what age he is now, I think he's in his 60s. I think when I find out I'll probably fucking crack open a few beer, know what I mean? Like, good riddance, you fucking sleazeball, for the trail of fucking nightmares you've left in your wake. Do you know what I mean? And I remember hearing some legal, I think it was a lawyer or something, say there's always a case that scars you. I would say this would be that case. I don't know what it is. I just find something absolutely horrifying about somebody posing as a good Samaritan, luring me home when I kicked them. This is another thing I want to get to that I forgot about. It could have been that he chose this young boy because he had learned from his mistakes. He was choosing adults, people who could fight back. So this guy's jumped through a fucking window. He clearly learned from that, because the next time he'd attacked him, because the boy had fractures in his face and he had been cuffed at the ankles. So he had clearly learned from that guy jumping out his window, and he's obviously thought, next time I do this, man, nae cunt's getting, whoever it is isn't getting out this house. So, fucking psycho bastard, man. But if nannies have watched the documentary, I would highly recommend it also, but say it's pretty dark. And sometimes, I don't know, like I do get intrusive thoughts a lot of the time. Sometimes when I talk about this one, it does come into my head, but like I'm no slow on trying to distract myself, know what I mean? Just people like this just give me the fear, man. Do you know what I mean? So that's that. But if any of you've got iPlayer, I would go and maybe get a watch, because if you're into kind of true crime and that. But aye, just so fucking sad, man. Poor family, know what I mean? Jeez, oh man. But I'm going to leave it there. And I will be back on in the next couple of days, and you all take care. Have a good night. I know it's not the weather for it. I was thinking about getting back to class tonight, but fuck that. Stay in, maybe get some dinner ordered or something. You know what I mean? Nights like this, man, you like chilling with the telly, innit? But yous all take care, as I said, and I will see yous all next time I'm back home. Catch yous over and out.